Okay, we want to say good evening to all those assembled here this evening. This is the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting for February 27th, I believe. And first of all, we have sitting at the dais, we have our Township Manager, Matt Canlin, our Assistant Township Manager, Randy Shivo. We have our Assistant Solicitor, Max Baum. We also have Commissioners Nick Skull and Kip McFadrick. Okay, we're all here and present and accounted for. Okay, now we want to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Gentlemen, please.
I have no problems with them.
I'm fine.
Okay, having said that, we approve the minutes then. Moving right along. We will start our agenda with our Police Commissioner, Chief Block, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioner Whiting. It's a pleasure to present the January 2023 monthly report. The Police Department responded to 1,382 calls for service in the month of January 2023, which is also the total calls for service for the year thus far at 1,382. The calls for service between December of 22 and January of 2023 increased by 120 incidents. The monthly Police Department call volume had realized a 10% increase between the 2 months, and also when comparing January 2022 with January of 2023. Our outlying year-to-date call volume in January 2022 there was 1,247 calls. January of 21, 1,107 calls, and in January of 20, 1,228 calls. We've realized over the last 3 years a 12.5% increase in our total call volume, as well as some of our crime rates. The following Part 1 crimes were reported and investigated by the Police Department in January of 2023. There was 1 sexual assault, 2 aggravated assaults, which were cleared by an arrest, 2 robberies, which were also cleared by an arrest, 6 burglaries, with 2 cleared by an arrest, 7 theft of automobiles, and 71 theft offenses, with 29 of those cleared by an arrest. The Part 2 crimes that were reported and investigated by the Police Department in January, there was 1 disorderly conduct offense, 4 public intoxication offenses, 5 narcotics offenses, and 29 other crimes committed. They were cleared by arrest as well. The Patrol Division conducted the following proactive measures. There were 393 vehicle investigations, 36 hazardous traffic violations issued, 78 non-hazardous traffic violations issued, 1 parking citation. There were 10 homeless contacts throughout the township. There was also 10 DUI investigations and arrests. Those arrests occurred all between 7 at night and 7 in the morning. Our traffic unit had 29 calls for service, 1 traffic and parking investigation, 49 traffic stops and motor vehicle investigations, 34 warnings were issued, and 14 hazardous moving citations were issued. There were 3 non-hazardous moving citations issued. There was also, for the month of January, 236 bus patrol citations issued. Our Detective Bureau, CID, investigated the following new cases and opened the following new cases, rather, in January of 2023. There was 1 attempted homicide by stabbing, which was cleared by an arrest, 1 juvenile investigation, 1 robbery, 1 juvenile robbery, 1 juvenile retail theft, 1 juvenile sexual assault, 2 simple assault investigations, 2 aggravated assault investigations, 2 narcotics investigations, 2 theft from vehicle investigations, 2 death investigations, 5 burglary investigations, and 45 catalytic converter theft investigations. The Detective Bureau also executed the following arrest and search warrants during the month of January. There was 1 robbery warrant that was executed, 1 felony assault warrant, and 1 felony narcotics warrant. Just so the board is aware of, the committee is aware of, the following is an overview of our Part 1 crime statistics just for the month of January. We realized 6 burglaries year to date, with 2 of those resulting in arrest. So it was extremely high for just 1 month. Our robbery offenses, there were 2 robberies that occurred in January, and they were also cleared by an arrest. The outlying years on the burglaries, there were no burglaries in the month of January, and there were 3 robberies in 2021 and 2 robberies in 2020 when they were cleared. All those robberies remain under investigation by our detective unit as well. And the thefts, including retail thefts, year to date were 71 with 29 clearances. On some of the monthly highlights, the one thing I do want to jump forward on, and this was as of this morning, We had an armed robbery at a point of gun. I want to make the committee aware of it. It has been posted on our Crime Watch page, and there's been significant media interest in this. And this happened this morning at 6:54 hours, where there was a motorist traveling north on York Road, and in the area of Cherry Street, there was a car driving in an erratic manner, and it pulled in front of our victim abruptly and came to a stop. Our victim attempted to stop her vehicle in a controlled manner, was unable to do so, and tapped the vehicle in front of her. As soon as this happened, the individual driving the car and in the erratic manner jumped out of the car with a handgun, ran up to her car, stuck the handgun inside the car, screamed at her, and forcefully removed her cell phone, went back to his vehicle, got in it, and left the scene. This is under investigations. Detectives are working it right now. The suspect vehicle had no identification on it. There was no license plate, no temporary plate on it. And the signature on that vehicle was the right rear quarter panel has a significant dent in it, not as a result of the crash. So this has been put out to our media outlets as well. We need the public's assistance with locating this perpetrator of this crime. It's a very, very violent crime. I am happy to report that our victim wasn't physically injured, but obviously it's a very horrifying situation, you know, and mentally it affects all of us with this type of crime. So we're working this very aggressively right now, but I wanted to bring that to the front for the board. On a more positive note, the police department participated in the 2023 police consortium examination. So we had our written examination and our physical agility in January. We have one opening, one vacancy on the police department right now. We just went through the process of interviews, and we're in the process of the background investigations. And next month, and on the second week of March, we hope to have that before the Civil Service Commission for the certification of the list. On January 16th, Sergeant Cadore partnered with the Equity Alliance of Upper Moreland for a period of poverty and blood collection drive at the Martin Luther King Day event. This event was held at the Willow Grove Giant Store at 315 North York Road. We also, on the 17th of January, the police department provided a toy donation to the Christ Home Community Center at 800 York Road. Christ Home provides services for neglected children in the region. And then on the 23rd, Sergeant Cadore and Detective Gallick presented an internet safety presentation to the residents of the Hatboro Community Methodist Church. The presentation provides detailed safety information for parents regarding scams on the internet to protect themselves as well as their children. And members of the Upper Moreland Township Police Command staff attended a tabletop presentation at the Upper Moreland Emergency Operations Center, which was facilitated by Chief Glassman, and he'll have more information on that this evening. On January 25th, the police department and the township had seen a significant increase in catalytic converter thefts. In 2020, we saw a total of 7 township-wide. In 2021, the rate climbed to 50 thefts, and in 2022, we were at an all-time high theft rate at 87. As I stated earlier, in January alone, there were 45 reports of catalytic converters being stolen, and as a result of the drastic increase of this crime, I sent a letter to our state representative Nancy Gens and our state senator Maria Collette requesting legislation to combat the theft of the catalytic converters in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and those letters are attached to the monthly report. I specifically requested assistance through the state legislature that they have an amendment to the crimes code that if somebody commits this theft and they're trying to turn the catalytic converters into a scrapyard or a salver, that there has to be appropriate identification and where these items were obtained from. Nancy Gens, I spoke with her, and she tried to sponsor legislation last year, which didn't pass, but she's going to work on it again this year. It is in the vehicle code. It's illegal for you to commit the theft, but there's nothing in the vehicle code that prohibits you delivering the stolen item to a salver or a scrapyard. So I really believe if we're able to successfully have this in the crimes code, it will cut the incident rate down tremendously. Simply because it affects our residents and our businesses when this happens. It affects the business performances, residents, and the average cost to replace it is anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000. We've also experienced a significant rise in theft of automobiles. In January 2023, there were 7 vehicles reported stolen in the township. In 2022, there was 1 vehicle reported stolen for the entire year. So with the rise of these theft of vehicles, we contacted the manufacturers of Kia and Hyundais because they are a hot item right now, simply because they still have keys that are used rather than push button ignitions, and they're they are missing an ignition interrupter. So as a result of that, Kia and Hyundai have provided at no cost to the police department the club locking device, which fixes to the steering wheel. So we have a significant amount of those in stock, and they're available, and we put it out on our website to any township resident. All they have to do is come in and show identification, and they'll get that as a proactive measure to stop the vehicle thefts. And that concludes my report for January of 2023. Are there any questions?
Just a couple things. Well, one, when it says cleared or clearances on your burglaries and that stuff, is that we made an arrest or not a conviction?
It's an arrest, correct, not a
Arrest.
conviction. But and that's part of the uniform crime reporting with the FBI. That it's cleared by an arrest.
Okay. Also, no burglaries for the last 3 years. We have 6 already. Are we talking houses or?
It's a combination of residential on 2 of them. We have reason to believe that the occupants of the house know the offenders. We're still working through that. And the other ones are commercial burglaries.
Commercial? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other commissioner?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. On that armed robbery today, it just puts me in mind of the fact that Philadelphia doesn't stop cars anymore, for tag violations or sticker violations and so on. So I can see very easily, and I'm making maybe a bad assumption, that this person came from Philadelphia. That's how they got out here without a license plate, but maybe not.
That's a bad assumption.
Wow.
Okay, so we carry on. Any other commissioner comments?
Yeah. The catalytic converters. So, you said that Nancy Gentz or Representative Gentz tried to introduce some legislation. Who's opposing that?
I think it is bundled together with other legislation where it fails. But she was a sponsor of a bill last year. She told
So
me.
I would encourage, like we did it with pawn shops, and there was a lot of activity with the pawn shops and successfully, you have to record it, and I scrap occasionally, and you have to have a record of that. Your license is produced. So I wouldn't, if there's going to be some legislation we're going after, just any kind of scrapping or, not just catalytic converters, but everything. It should have a trail statewide.
Well, it's, like I said, the initiative is right now with the catalytic converters because there's been a very, very significant spike in that right now.
Right,
So
and
anything would help us on it. And I understand what you're saying, that it's all reported to scrap, but right, there is no.
Just pick them up and go to scrapyard.
Right.
But I realize that the money, it's off the charts. The jewel level that's involved in the catalytic converters is high. But if we try to pass legislation that's so finite, we miss the boat a lot of times. So I would encourage them just to be broad with that application of going to the scrap yards. But I don't know why we don't have it. I can't imagine anybody be opposed to it. It should stand alone. It shouldn't be bundled. I will write to both of them about that, and I have talked to Nancy about it, but I haven't talked to Maria at all.
We did get a response from Representative Gantz, and it's in there. It's in the report.
Chief, I have a personal question because we have a Hyundai. It doesn't have a key. It has a push button. Are they also being stolen?
Now, we're specifically seeing the ones with the traditional ignitions with a key, but by all means, you're a township resident, please come in.
I already have one.
We'll give good.
My wife doesn't like it though.
It is a true anti-theft device.
Okay.
Hello, Chief. There was a request last month from a resident in my ward about lack of stopping and speeding at Broughton Park, Sheldon Barrett. You had said you'd be looking into that. I don't know if you started looking into that or if you have any follow-up.
Yes, we did. So we contacted this traffic safety unit, looked at it, and they've been in contact with Public Works Department, so they're in the process of installing the new strips on the stop signs, the reflective strips, and when the weather breaks, they will do the painting on the roadways.
Awesome.
So we're moving forward on that.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks.
Any other commissioner comments? Any public comments? Hey, Chief Block, we thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Chief Glassman.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's my pleasure to present the report for the Fire Department for January 2023. Fire Department responded to 56 fire calls, 12 EMS calls, for a total of 68 calls. We completed 28 fire permit inspection, collected $1,225 for the month. The fire marshal conducted 4 investigations. We had 1 injured firefighter. He got some debris in his eye. We had 3 significant incidents. On January 4th, on Computer Avenue, we had a motor vehicle accident that required an extrication of the occupants. On the 26th, we had a fire at 2675 Merlin Road, Carrabba's Restaurant. And on 1/28, we had a fire at 2045 Country Club Drive. That was a dumpster in the middle of the night in the driveway. They were refurbing that residence. The fire department participated in 1 community event with 2 people, and fire service training was 34 personnel for 183 hours. Also, like the police department, we're gonna have a retirement coming up. Firefighter Gersh submitted his retirement papers. His last day on the job will be March 17th. We'll be recognizing him at the April Commissioners meeting. We're in the process of working through the backgrounds with Chief Block and the police department, and we'll come to the committee with a recommendation hopefully by next month. On the emergency management side, Chief Block mentioned it earlier, all the township managers participated in a tabletop exercise. It was a simulated tornado that went through the township. We worked through the emergency operations plan with representatives from the county and notifications, and just kind of dusted off the emergency management protocols, responsibilities, and procedures that everyone is supposed to follow if we have an incident. And that concludes my report for the month.
And you have your fire prevention tip?
Fire prevention tips coming up real soon, I think like 2 weeks. Change your clock, change your batteries. Please install new batteries and include your smoke detectors. And if you need batteries or help, please feel free to call the firehouse and we'll come by and do whatever we can to keep you safe.
Thank you very much, Chief Glassman. Any commissioner comments? Any public comments? Okay, Ken's not here tonight, we have Cliff. Cliff, what's your last name again, Cliff?
Colton Marsh.
Cliff Colton Marsh, welcome to our meeting.
Thank you. Thank you,
Please
Commissioner.
Please give your report.
I will be glad to. Glad to join you here this evening. Thank you. And on behalf of Second Alarmers and Chief Davidson, who is at a conflicting meeting this evening, who sends his regrets, I'd be glad to share the report from Second Alarmers. Statistics here included in the report do include December dates as we work through those and do our best to provide those accurate statistics. So we do have those December dates here included in the report. There were 36 officer calls responded to in the township. 167 of those calls were responded from the Willow Grove station. There were 4 calls the Elkins Park station responded to, 15 calls the North Hills station responded to, and 137 calls the Hatboro station responded to. It's a total of 359 calls in the township for the month of December. You can see the varying natures of those calls and the response outcome, just highlighting 187 of those transported. Those obviously the ones we are able to certainly bill for when we transport to the hospital, and notable for us. On the second page here, we certainly continue to track interventions by EMS providers on naloxone administration. This report includes December through to the current date. There were no administrations in January or February to date. The one noted there is from December, just for comparison's sake. Staffing is something that we continually work on. Jumping ahead in the report, we do have 5 total vacancies in full-time employment at this juncture. There's 2 full-time paramedic positions and 3 full-time EMT positions that we are continuing and actively recruiting for in creative ways. But just to speak to January's staffing hours, as we compare year over year there, this year, January 2023, that's actually up 292 hours compared to last year, which is good. We want ALS staffing. We did not have to downgrade as much, and so those 2 numbers, downgraded BLS 131 hours, less than January, 161 less than January of 2022, the prior year, and so those are all good things. Just some notable things that Assistant Chief Davidson shared with me here in the report and in advance. Certainly while Narcan is low, as I mentioned there, it's notable that recently some testing of that included that fentanyl was found in just about all of that. In Narcan, in heroin tested, fentanyl has been found in that heroin located here locally. And a growing issue, xylazine is a veterinary medication, which is a non-opiate sedative, meaning that it's not responsive to Narcan. And so in these cases, it causes some extremely painful skin wounds, and anecdotally from Assistant Chief Davidson shared he treated one of those patients, that was evident, that it was in fact quite.
Why would someone take that? Is to give you some sort of hallucination?
That's my understanding. It's hard for me to relate, of course. There's many different medications people take, and for.
It gives you the same effects of heroin, or?
Yeah, to my understanding.
And they would have to get that from a veterinarian, right? Or is this on the street? Is this kind of?
This, from what I understand, is street. The current origin, where folks are obtaining it, the ultimate origin, that I'm not sure of.
Have you heard of this stuff here? I don't even know how to pronounce it. What's that?
Xylazine?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the latest.
Is it a street drug?
It's similar to heroin, much more designer drugs.
I'll admit my research on that is minimal at this point, so I would expect the more that I can provide, I'll certainly get back with more information.
Oh, no, that answers the question. I hadn't heard of it before. And I don't know if any of the commissioners had heard that before, but it's,
Maybe clean auto parts, but not take it.
Again, hard for me to relate, but of course important for us to be aware of and understand so we can treat these appropriately to the best of our abilities. Certainly we have abilities to treat pain, but at least with Narcan, with this particular drug, right, it's non-responsive to. Finally, just to wrap up here, in the photos that were attached, Second Alarmers purchased 2 ambulances, which we wait very patiently for. Right now we anticipate a spring-ish delivery for those, but the photos at least verify it is on the track to be finished and painted soon. Happy to take any questions to the best of my ability here this evening, and we'll be glad to follow up if there's anything else I can't answer tonight.
Any commissioner comments?
I just wanted to ask you, this xylazine, it doesn't respond to Narcan?
Correct, yeah. Narcan specific to opiates.
Right. And fentanyl?
Fentanyl would be responsive to Narcan,
right.
correct, yeah.
Okay. Any other commissioner comments? Any public comments? Cliff, we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us this evening. Tell Kenny was missed, okay?
I will.
Okay. If there's any further business, no new business, no old business, we stand adjourned. Thank you for coming this evening.
we do have,
Oh, we got one? Okay.
we have one agenda item. There's one agenda item. If you,
Public, feral cat ordinance, Charles.
Okay.
Okay. You're gonna take this, right, Chief?
Yes.
Okay.
So as a follow-up to last month's committee meeting, the police department was asked to look into this and investigate this on who may have been feeding the cats up on Everly Street. We were able to determine what resident was feeding the feral cats up there, and that resident was subsequently informed by the police department that they're in violation of the ordinance, and informed us that they were not feeding cats anymore.
Chief, you're getting the mic.
So as I repeated, after last month's meeting, the police department was requested to find out which resident on Everly Street was feeding the feral cats. We were able to locate and identify that resident and warn them that they were violating the township ordinance, and if it continued to move forward, they could end up being cited by the police department for the violation of the township ordinance. In addition to that, we were also asked to look into potentially ways to have the feral cats removed from the neighborhood where they were either spayed or neutered, and then we spoke at length with forgotten cats. They provided us information, which is included in the agenda summary, where they would come out, trap, neuter a male cat for $50 per cat, and trap and spay a female cat, which is $65 per cat. So it would be up to the board, the recommendation on whether or not the township wants to employ forgotten cats to come in and trap, neuter, and spay the cats up in the area up there. We also inform residents that if you see the violation of the resident feeding the cat, to call us. Since we made that notification, we have not received any 911 phone calls or any other correspondence that this person was feeding those cats.
Any commissioner comments concerning the cats?
We have an ordinance in here that you have given us, correct?
Correct. It's already on the books.
Okay, this is what we have,
Correct.
in case we want to change something, but in our packets, we do have the actual ordinance. Okay.
So, this is just another location. This has been going on for years and years and years, and there's probably 4 solid locations throughout the township where we have this issue. And there were a few colony owners that were registered years ago, but no longer. And that's what our ordinance says, that you have to, if you want to feed a cat, you have to register as a colony and participate in the trap, spay, release program. So it's not a remedy that people are that really like, because the cats that are unadoptable and the cats that get fixed go back out to the same community. But it begins to stop the process. And if there's a nasty cat, or if there's a cat that can't get released to back to the community, I would encourage it going to the SPCA. I did check with other communities, and some of them that actually have animal control officers. They take the cats and they do take them to the SPCA. And it's this Forgotten Cats is a non-kill shelter. So, they work with this community, they work with other communities, and I would encourage the board to recommend that this committee recommended the board vote on employing their services until we have something better to do. We don't have an animal control officer. We've had a lot of effort to try to get one. So I'm asking you to recommend this full board.
Do we handle residential neighborhoods different than commercial establishments?
I think we ask for help wherever we can get it. I mean, in this particular neighborhood, which is Ward 2, we've had several residents that have actually, cash out of pocket, $50 or $65 per cat. I've done it myself 3 times.
I guess my thing here is the residents live here and are just paying a tax. Commercial places are making money. When I say shopping
Okay,
center,
Walmart,
something like that.
Walmart.
I mean, well, there you go.
Walmart said they would work with us. They'd be willing to work with us. And if we, what we found there was most of the cats there are already, their ears are clipped. They know that but there's always one sneaking in there.
Do we handle it differently, though? Because we're looking at an ordinance.
Yeah, right. I agree with you.
Do we handle commercial separate, differently than a residential?
You're gonna have to ask the attorney about that.
Well, I'm just,
I'm okay with that, right? If we're going to Walmart or over by the Legion, those apartments that they had hired, the same organization, Forgotten Cats. And they went and caught a bunch of cats, and I think they got upset that the cats came back, so they didn't pay them. That was not a good and they're looking at building another apartment building right now, so I'd like to bear that in mind, but if you want to I think it's a very interesting concept to have a slash ordinance that works different for 2 different entities within the township. I'm okay with that if we can craft it that it works.
I guess my other thing with this is, do we set a fee that anybody else besides just this one business can handle this also? In other words, you have a price from Forgotten Cats.
Oh, yeah,
Okay. Any other business that,
wants to play the game, sure.
Okay.
I don't care who it is, absolutely.
Okay.
But what we have to do is, we really have to, crack down on the people that are feeding the cats, like, and we know who it is. Several people have approached them and asked them not to stop feeding the cats, and we'll see how it goes. But, so the recommendation from Forgotten Cats was, you gotta stop feeding them. That's how we're gonna catch them.
yeah. Okay, those are just my questions.
All right,
I
thank
still
you.
have Anthony.
I don't like the idea that you might think that the Forgotten Cats is a commercial business. The $50 is what they charge, for the spaying and the neutering.
No.
And it's done by volunteer veterinarians. It's not-
No, you're missing
Okay.
what Kevin and I were saying. Do we treat a commercial, let's say Walmart, differently than our house? That's all. Are we going to look at it differently? Or do we tell these people, we want you to go to the commercial establishments, which we know there's 4 of them already, and do it, also pay for it? Or should they be paying for it?
Or would they volunteer to pay for it?
And that's what my question was,
Right, okay.
so.
Yeah, so the first comment is, I think we're all in agreement here. I don't want the township to be in the business of euthanizing cats, okay? So everybody just needs to understand how this process is working, and we just need to make that very clear in the ordinance. If a cat's removed, it's coming back. That's the way that is. The second thing, and I guess.
What was that again?
If the cat's removed to be spayed or neutered, it's going to be put back where it was removed from. We're not euthanizing cats. The only option that we could have is potentially giving the cat to the SPCA for adoption if it's a viable cat for adoption. And we, if this moves out of committee, we can debate that if there's anybody who objects to those statements next week. The other thing is in regards to how it gets paid for, right? Like if we are doing this as part of the ordinance where we're paying for this service, another option, and we can discuss this as a larger group, is encourage residents to, if they catch the cat, take it to get spayed or neutered. Maybe there's something we can have in there that with proof of that catch and release process that they've undergone themselves, we can reimburse them from the township. I don't know if that's possible. It might be something to look into. Just that way, it's not something that 100% falls on the township to manage those processes. Because I know we don't have an animal control officer, and then this is something that would have to go into somebody else's jurisdiction to manage. So just things to think about. It might just be something where we deal with one specific organization like Forgotten Cats, and we're contracted with them per se in order to do this, and then we take it off the table where it's not managed by our admin. But I just want to think about the process there too a little bit.
Only other thing left, if we're all in agreement, where does this budget item go? Out of the police budget? No, I'm just joking, wherever. We should have.
So, for 2 consecutive years, not this year past, we did budget, approximately $20,000 for an animal control officer because we were looking to regionalize that position. We couldn't get other municipalities to join us with that, so, it was budgeted towards the police, expenses. Or, that's where I think it has to go, since you asked.
Have we budgeted for this year?
Not for animal control officer, no.
No, have we budgeted anything as far as expenditures for feral cats?
I don't think we're talking about a $20,000 line item here either, but no, we have not. But, I mean,
we have
expenses come up like that all the time,
We have no idea how many cats
we can buy less bullets,
I'm just thinking for, for next year. If we're going
Yeah.
to do this and we make an ordinance, it's an ongoing amount, so it should be in somebody's budget.
So we also have to discuss about, changing the ordinance. We talked about the ordinance and said, hey, this is really hard to achieve for people that just want to take care of cats. I know I'm going to approach, 4 people I know that are feeding cats and tell them you're going to have to get registered because it's just so we know what's going on here.
Okay, now what happens if they do not want to register them?
They can't feed the cats.
What?
They can't feed them. But we looked at the ordinance and we said this is really challenging for an individual that cares about cats and is already showing money out to feed cats. So, and they are, I know the people that I know that are participating in a catch, spay, and release program that are feeding cats.
Rather than pay for spaying cats, why don't we pay, so that people don't have to pay for the permit? If they registered their cats, they wouldn't have to pay whatever the permit would cost. Does it cost anything
No.
to register?
Well, I think,
There's no fee to register, but the ordinance says you have to register the colony with the township. So
It's making sure that we're reducing the colony, that we're keeping tabs.
I understand, I'm just
And-
thinking
and
of an incentive
What's
for people to do it.
what's going on in Ward 2 right now in the Fair Oaks area? And, you guys heard from Forgotten Cats a few weeks ago. There's like tons of kittens. I mean, they're just making cats like crazy. And they're adoptable. And once they're treated properly, there's a good chance that most of the cats will get adopted. And the problem won't be that bad. There's other places, there's a lot of places that are interested in having cats that are controllable.
Maybe we could get the Boy Scouts to trap cats
No,
and pay for it.
no, no.
Why not?
Okay.
Why not?
Why not? Because first of all, the health reasons. For public health and safety. Wild cats present a danger to young people. Okay? I don't know about you, but my Boy Scouts are not going out to try and catch some wild cats. Because they're getting scratched, bitten. Okay, we're looking at
All right,
something.
that was a bad example.
Okay, I just want to let you know.
High school kids.
Listen,
Okay,
you said it earlier, Commissioner Scull, you said it earlier. The Forgotten Cats organization uses volunteers. People and they depend on volunteers.
Right.
And then they have criteria for volunteers, they have training for volunteers. So that organization does what they do, we can encourage that activity to continue.
Okay, on what we're looking at now in the packet, to do this with a provider, and this is towards you, what do we need to do, if anything, to the ordinance or to anything that we do to say we're going to pay for some of these? Is there anything that we need to do?
Right. So, your ordinance is set up, right? So from that perspective, you as the township wouldn't have to do anything different other than to contract with this entity, which you would approve next week, which is before you, and then pay them the money for their services. Now, if you want to make substantive changes to the way the process plays out, that would require a separate ordinance.
I think the ordinance is good. We find people for feeding,
Correct.
and get them to either do a colony or stop feeding them, or we're gonna fine them. And then, so really for March, we're looking at, and I think we should do it as a test model anyway. Go to this organization, and we know exactly, we had all the people here, last month from the Fair Oaks Park, and let's see how well it works. Let's go ahead and.
Thank you, it's wonderful.
Go ahead and do this and see how well it works, and it gives us a baseline to start with if we want to keep doing it.
Plus, there's more organizations besides Forgotten Cats.
Absolutely, but for right now, as a base model, let's see, let them, we'll hire them, and, but we could, That was my question at the very beginning, who else does it? But for now, let's try this, get a baseline, how well it works
So.
for that area.
May I ask a question? Who's going to impose the fine on those individuals who violate the ordinance?
The chief.
That would be the police department.
Correct.
Okay, now please, do you have the manpower to do that?
Oh, there we go. Are we budgeted for that?
Now, well, no, it's a reactive situation. We have to be notified of it, and we'll have to go out and conduct the investigation. So proactively, I can't do it right now.
So we have the awareness, okay, about what's going on. We have some energy going towards it. I think our discussion about the ordinance was that it's really, really hard for volunteers that are out there to meet this criteria. So what can we do with, and they're separate items. You know, we can have this discussion. We're fortunate we have an ordinance in place. And we can look at how this transpires and see what we can do to make the ordinance easier to accommodate the people that are doing this. And you know, see what other municipalities have. Most municipalities don't even have one. But the Forgotten Cats organization is big. They're in Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. I did ask them to review our ordinance and make some recommendations. But I think, that we're talking about separate items here.
Yeah, and we are not asking the chief to go look for these people. This is people that come in and say, this person, several people said, this person's feeding them illegally. So they went out and made the contact.
Correct.
For that, it's just a contact. I do not expect our police department to go running around chasing.
Yeah, but they gave an invitation to the community too. If you see this person that we approached feeding the cats, let us know. We'll knock on the door again.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So just to summarize for purposes of my notes, so we'll keep it on the agenda for next month, just to report back, but we'll go ahead and contact Forgotten Cats and go ahead and do a pilot program out at Fair Oaks. Even if it's 50 cats, you're looking at probably $2,000, between $2,000 and $3,000 if you had 50 cats. So assuming that kind of budget, and then we'll see what happens over the next several months, see how it works, see if we're satisfied with Forgotten Cats, see what the impact is, and then I guess we can consider other areas after that.
And if somebody finds out that we are doing this, let's say we're paying $50, hopefully we get another group that comes in and says, we'll do it for 40. Yeah. Right. So, but for now, I think we should try this to see if it works. That's all.
We're good.
If that's okay with the rest of the board to move it forward to do that.
Well, we're going to discuss that next week, right?
Well, I guess there would just be an agenda item for next week allocating up to a certain amount of money.
Right, authorizing to enter into an agreement with the cat organization.
Does that sound okay?
But it would be a vote, because that's the general board.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be the contract with Forgotten Cats.
Right. And as a condition of the approval of that contract, you could set, your budgetary limit there too. Not to an amount exceeding $5,000 or something like that.
I think one other thing, we have to see if Forgotten Cats is amenable to working with the Upper Moreland Township.
From all indications and the conversations we've had with them over the last month, they are interested in it. But I think it needs, there should be some formal contract if we're going to move that way.
Okay.
How about the ASPCA?
So most of, just not specific to feral cats, but I mean, most entities that do not have an animal control officer do have a specific contract either with the SPCA or, several other organizations in combination. It's annually renewed or it runs every 2 years and, it sets out the terms and conditions there. So you're not limited to just, this organization partnering with. You can do this with multiple.
In conjunction with this, though, I would hope we put this on to try this now, but then look into, like you said, some of these other options, so it can be budgeted for 2024.
Do we have any other comments concerning the feral cats? No? Okay.
Commissioner Whiting?
Yes.
Just one comment, not related to this. I just want to just tell everybody, be careful going home. The weather has changed. We have sleet, snow, and some icing conditions happening right now outside, so please be careful going home. So all crews are being called in.
Okay. You've heard the report now. I guess on that note, we adjourn.
Adjourned.
We adjourn. Thank you.
But wait.